there, my name is Sarah Thomas. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, as well as a nutritionist, and my passion is helping women age 35 to 55 live their best, healthiest life as we age, hormones change, and metabolism changes. So today we are discussing 8 ways to balance hormones naturally. So when it comes to health, hormones and gut bacteria have a much bigger effect than many people actually realize. In fact, these 2 factors can destroy health even if everything else, diets, supplements, etc., are optimized. So regulating hormones and fixing gut bacteria can do a lot to boost your health, even if all the other factors are not necessarily optimal. In fact, there are studies that even show that using certain hormone reactions even heal brain trauma. So if you actually are sitting here doubting the power of hormones affecting everything from your mood to your gut health to your weight to your bowel health and everything in between, why don't you go ahead and ask the nearest maybe pregnant woman if she feels a little different now that she's pregnant, because hormones have an effect on that. Or maybe ask the nearest 13, 14-year-old girl if she feels and looks different after going through puberty. So let's talk about a few more. What factor contributes to weight gain during pregnancy? Hormone balance. What causes weight fluctuations, bloating, and other health things throughout a woman's menstrual cycle? Hormones. What causes men to naturally put on more muscle and lose weight easier than women? Hormones. So it's a huge contributing factor in many things, including growth in children. And so when it comes to losing weight, improving our health, we tend to focus on calories or micro and macronutrients or diets, but we actually need to focus more on balancing our hormones, especially as we get older. So if you're fighting any symptoms such as fatigue, skin issues, weight gain, weight around your midsection, trouble sleeping, maybe you're sleeping all the time throughout the day, PMS symptoms, endometriosis, anything like that. A lot of times when you balance your hormones, you address the hormone issue, these things start their recovery process. So it's all about our hormones up in here. Our hormones are our body's chemical messengers. They travel in our bloodstream to our tissues and our organs, and they work very slow over time, and they affect many different processes, including our metabolism, our sexual function, our reproduction, our mood, so much more. So when we talk about hormones, they are produced in a complex process, but they depend on beneficial fats and cholesterol. So the lack of those are important dietary factors as well, and they can cause hormone problems simply because the body doesn't have the building blocks to make them. Toxins containing chemicals, they also can mimic these building blocks, and then that can also be problematic because that will tell our body to not make the hormone and not produce enough of it. So I work with women across the globe in my online wellness program. It's fitness as well as nutrition based. It's called Burn Fat and Feast. And so many times women come to me on a daily basis and say, I'm eating right, I'm exercising, I'm hydrating my body, but I'm still packing on the pounds. Oftentimes, more often than not, in fact, the problem here, the cause is hormone imbalance. So let's go ahead and dive into our 8 tips, the 8 ways that you can balance your hormones naturally. So your first tip today is to eat enough healthy fats. So our body was never actually made to digest as much vegetable-based oil as we typically consume. And so not only are we consuming way too many of those omega-6 fatty acids that's found in vegetable oils, but we are not consuming enough of the beneficial omega-3s and saturated fats. So these types of fats are vital for proper cell function, especially especially for hormone function, as they literally are the building blocks for hormone production. And so when we don't give the body adequate amounts of these fats, it must use what's available, relying on lower quality polyunsaturated fats. So the big issue here is that polyunsaturated fats are less stable and oxidize easily in the body. And so that leads to inflammation and mutations within the body. And gut inflammation is not a good thing. This inflammation can occur in arterial cells, and that actually increases the chance of clogged arteries. So we want to consume more coconut oils instead of the vegetable oils. That will help our hormone production and even everything out. It also can assist in some weight loss, reduce the inflammation, and even be used as an antibacterial property. So try cooking with some coconut oil, and you can even actually add it into your morning coffee, which is one of my favorite things to do these days. So other quality sources of fats include avocados, animal fats, olive oils, grass-fed meats, pasteurized eggs, as well as raw dairy, if you're someone who can actually tolerate dairy. So for your omega-3s, you want to make sure that you're getting quality seafood. That's very important in our diet. So tip number 2 is to limit your caffeine. Now I say this with a smile on my face because let me just say this. I love coffee. I really love coffee. I actually, a few years ago, I was one of those women who was I'm gonna have a cup of cream with a splash of coffee kind of gal. And I didn't actually know if I loved coffee or if I just really loved cream. And so I slowly, it was a slow process, decreased my cream consumption in my coffee. And I'm happy to say I drink my coffee black with no sugar and no cream in it. And I can honestly, truly say I love coffee. I drink about 2 cups a day, and I limit myself there because I do know that too much caffeine can be a bad thing. So the truth is that too much caffeine can actually wreck our endocrine system, especially if there are other hormone stressors involved, like pregnancy, other outside toxins, or just simply daily stressors, which we all probably have. So try cutting down on some of your coffee, especially if you drink more than 1 or 2 cups a day. You can replace it with herbal teas, or my personal favorite, which is green tea. And I like to have 1 green tea at night every evening, kind of soothes me down to bed. So your third tip is to avoid harmful chemicals. Now this one can be tough because chemicals are all around us. They're everywhere. So harmful chemicals can be found in pesticides, plastics in our house. Household cleaners contain a lot of these. Even our mattress can contain some hormone disrupting chemicals that can, again, mimic our hormones and keep our body from actually producing the real hormones that it's supposed to produce. So if you struggle with any type of hormone imbalance, avoid some of these unnecessary chemicals. That is super important. Another big one, and this is one that we have just recently converted to ourselves in our household, is to cook your food in glass or a stainless steel or a cast iron pan or dish. Please avoid the non-stick coated pans and avoid overheating or storing your foods in plastic containers. Those things can leach out harmful chemicals to our body. So you want to try to consume organic produce as well and organic grass-fed meats whenever you can, and really try to avoid chemical pesticides in your yard as well as cleaners. So look for ways that you can maybe make your own or find natural alternatives. Another daily product that we typically use that we don't really think about necessarily are deodorants, lotions, and makeups. They can be huge sources of chemical exposures. So there are thousands of chemicals in these products, and they're not at all tested for safety. So I would highly recommend switching some of those products to natural or more mineral-based products. Tip number 4 today is to prioritize your sleep. Now, I cannot emphasize this one enough, But at the same time, I also struggle with this. I know this is a double-edged sword. We know that we need it. It's a struggle to get enough sleep, especially as a busy person, a busy parent. And so without adequate sleep, however, hormones will not be in balance, period, end of story. If you don't have enough sleep, your hormones are going to be out of whack. Sleep is absolutely essential to any type of recovery process. If you want to lose weight, you want to balance your hormones, you want to feel better and increase any type of healing in your gut, you must get enough sleep. While we're sleeping, our body is extremely active in removing toxins, recharging our mind, and actually creating hormones. So when you skip on your sleep, even for one night, it can have a tremendous impact on your hormones. Even just one night of a lack of sleep, a few hours missed, can have a huge impact on your hormones. In fact, I've actually read studies recently that show if you get less than 7 hours of sleep a night, you are sleep deprived. And when we are sleep deprived to the point where our brain acts as if it is intoxicated. So think about that. If you've never ever been intoxicated before, you know what that feeling, how you're in a fog, you can't think clearly. So we're not getting enough sleep. That's what's happening to our brain. We're in a fog and we just can't function optimally. So here are a few tips to help you get a better night's sleep, maybe to improve your sleep during the night. Tip number 1 is to create a soothing environment. Remove artificial light, optimize the temperature in your room. Maybe you want some sort of sound or other stimuli that's going to help kind of relax you as you drift off to sleep. You can also create a daily routine to support your natural circadian rhythm. So, for example, you want to wake up and you want to go to bed at the same time, even on weekends. Waking up and going to bed at the same time will help regulate your hormones cycle. And so also eating a high protein, high fat snack a few hours before bed will help your hormones regulate as well. Another tip is to get a lot of natural light during the day, which I know can be tough, especially if you're somebody who works in an office type of situation. But if you want to try to spend about 30 minutes outside each day, that is going to help boost those hormones. And it actually, what it does is it helps boost your serotonin levels, which help balance your melatonin levels at night. So that's pretty cool. Turn off the devices. Oh my goodness, I am so guilty of this as well. But as much as you can, once the sun starts going down, you want to turn those devices off. Put them in airplane mode, maybe just take them to another room, and don't check your email. You don't need to respond right away when you're trying to soothe yourself down at night. So this is going to actually reduce blue light and help you sleep better. And it's also much easier on your eyes. You also want to try to drink enough water during the day so that you're not waking up throughout the night feeling thirsty. Another option is to take a salt bath about an hour before bed with some relaxing music, maybe a great book. It'll help soothe you as well. Also, stretching before bed to help relax your muscles. That's a great way to settle down as well. Okay, tip number 5 is to exercise the right way. For those of you with a hormone imbalance, intense extended exercise can actually make the problem worse in the short time. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're getting your sleep. That's goal number 1. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. But once you're in a good sleep pattern, it's time to focus on those workouts. And it's time to start doing it the right way. So if you're spending an hour or longer at the gym, decrease the amount of time that you're spending. That's good news, right? We don't need to spend an hour at the gym any longer. We've got to work out correctly. So shorter is better. It actually, when we exercise, it increases our cortisol level, which cortisol is our stress hormone. So our stress hormone increases when we exercise. It naturally does that, and that's okay for a short amount of time. However, when we work out for a long time, our cortisol is increased and it stays there. That puts ourselves into that fight or flight mode, and it will tell our body to hold on to excess fat, which pretty much defeats the purpose when we are going to the gym to work out to decrease fat and to get leaner and stronger, right? So shorter is better when we're talking about working out. We don't want to do long extended bouts of cardio. We want to do short bursts of cardio, heavy lifting, or HIIT workouts. And those will be your best bet when you're balancing your hormones and getting stronger and leaner. Tip number 6 is to support your digestive health. Okay, the digestive system has much more of an impact on your hormones than many of us really realize. An imbalance in our gut actually translates to an imbalance in our hormones. So when we're thinking about our gut, here's the pretty cool thing. 70% of our immune system is actually housed in our gut. That's most of our immune system is housed right here. And so if you're somebody who is often getting sick, it might not be because you're dirty, you got germs all around you. It may be because your gut health is not where it needs to be. You have poor gut health, your immune system is also going to decline. So start thinking about quality foods that you're putting into your gut. I know from being a mom of 3 that oftentimes kids get sick multiple times throughout the year, which shouldn't happen. But what we tend to do, unfortunately, is give our kids kid food and then we eat a different type of food, the healthier food, more of the vegetables. We're not giving those to our kids. That is actually making their immune system weaker. We're doing them a disservice by doing that. They're getting sick more often. And so if you are one of those people, start thinking about what you're putting in your body to increase your gut health. So tip number 7 is to fix your leptin. I have so much to talk about with this subject. I can't fit it all in right now, so we will talk about this more later. But leptin is a master hormone. It's the hormone that actually controls our hunger and the feeling of being satisfied. So when leptin is out of balance, or if you're leptin resistant, then no other hormones will be balanced well at all. So balancing leptin will also help boost your fertility. It will make weight loss easier. It will improve your sleep and lower your inflammation. So some of the factors that contribute to leptin imbalance are the consumption of high fructose corn syrup. And before I go on, I'm just going to make a side note here that I was one of those people that thought, well, okay, check that off my list because I don't use high fructose corn syrup. I don't consume it. However, if you go into your kitchen, look at your refrigerator and your pantry, turn some of the bottles around, look at the ingredients, maybe barbecue sauce, maybe your ketchups, things like that. Some of your condiments actually probably have high fructose corn syrup in them as an ingredient. So take some time to go to your kitchen to see if those are factors for you and your family, because I know I was one of those people who felt like I was doing a good job in that area, and in fact I was not. Trying to avoid high fructose corn syrup is definitely one that you need to think about. Avoiding simple carbs and simple sugars as well. High stress levels will leave your leptin all out of whack. Lack of sleep, we've talked about some of these before, right? High insulin, overeating, and over exercising. So you see there's a lot of overlap here. So trying to take some of these into consideration throughout your day will help balance everything out. So tip number 5 is to supplement wisely. Again, there's so much to talk about with supplementation. I'm only going to touch the surface today. But I will say this. A few years ago, I was that fitness professional that said, I don't need to supplement. I eat healthy, I hydrate, I exercise, I'm good. However, unfortunately, we live in a world where our food supply is often depleted of nutrients due to over-farming. Our water is often contaminated with chemicals, and even our air quality can be contaminated with chemicals and just pollutants in general, and that will mess up our hormones. So the sad truth here is that an apple today is not the same apple that it was a few years ago, even 2 or 3 years ago. It's not the same. It doesn't have the right nutrient density that it did years ago. So less nutrients in an apple today versus an apple 5 years ago. And take that and pair it with the fact that most of us just aren't consuming enough micronutrients to begin with, vitamins and minerals, as well as macronutrients, which are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. So putting all that together, typically most of us need to have some sort of supplement in our diet. So I do have a link to all the supplements I personally use below this video. Those are ones that I recommend as well as use on a daily or a weekly basis. And so that link will be below if you want to check that out. Okay, I want to make a note here as well to check with your doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm not your healthcare professional here. So before you start taking any supplements, please check with them to make sure that you are okay, healthy, etc. Vitamin D is one that most of us typically need as well, especially in the winter months. Because again, the reality is most people are sitting in an office, they're not active, we're not outside. If you're like me and you work from home, I typically am in and out throughout my day, but that's not normal for most of Americans. And so if you're not getting outside throughout the day to get enough vitamin D, you may need to supplement with vitamin D. Omega-3s, we talked about those earlier, but using wild caught fish such as salmon is a great way to get your omega-3s. However, if you're not a fish lover, you may also need to supplement with some omega-3s. Collagen is another big one. So we lose collagen as we age. Unfortunately, we start losing collagen. We start to see the effects of losing collagen with wrinkles as well as sagging skin. So collagen is basically the glue that holds everything together. We start to see that we're losing it from our skin mainly, but collagen is also a great source of minerals and amino acids as well. And so if you want to supplement with collagen, I would recommend a collagen powder or collagen peptides to your diet. I personally add some powder to my shake that I drink every single day. So other supplements that may be beneficial for you, especially if you are a busy person, you're maybe on the go a lot, you're struggling just to simply eat enough fruits and vegetables and lean proteins throughout your day just to begin with. Supplements such as powdered greens, protein, or a meal replacement might be something you want to check into. And again, I have links to some of those in the document below. You can check those out. Okay, so just to recap before we go, we talked about 8 ways to balance your hormones naturally. Our first tip was to eat enough healthy fats. Tip number 2 was to limit your caffeine. Tip number 3 was to avoid harmful chemicals in your daily routine. Tip number 4 was to prioritize sleep. Tip number 5 was exercise the right way and the shorter way. Tip number 6 was to support digestive health. Tip number 7 was to fix your leptin, and tip number 8 was to supplement wisely. I certainly hope those tips have helped you. Please make sure that you like, you comment, and you subscribe to this YouTube video. Let us know what you want to hear more about for the next time, and we look forward to chatting with you very soon.